Very good afternoon to one and all gathered here. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you all back to the second session of the two-day workshop on data analytics. Yesterday, we have discussed about the parametric and non-parametric tests. Under the parametric test, we have discussed about some 8 tests, that is one sample t-test, independent sample t-test, paired sample t-test, one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA, MANOVA, ANCOVA, and MANCOVA. Under the non-parametric tests, 5 tests have been discussed: chi-square test, Mann-Whitney U test, Kruskal-Wallis test, then Wilcoxon test, and Friedman test. So these tests are basic tests, tests of hypothesis. And today we are going to discuss about some 5 advanced tools that will be very helpful for every researcher, even for PG students, research scholars, and even for the faculty members, those who are willing to guide the research scholars or to publish the papers. These tools are advanced tools and will be very helpful for every one of you. Number 1, multiple correlation. Number 2, multiple regression. Number 3, cluster analysis. Number 4, discriminant function analysis, DFA, or multiple discriminant analysis, MDA. Then factor analysis. These are the tools which we are going to discuss in today's session. So first one, correlation. This is a different test or different tool to be applied in the research work. Why this is different means, here we can compare 2 variables. If we are comparing 2 variables only, it is simple correlation. If we are comparing more than 2 variables, it is multiple correlation. In the SPSS, both for the simple correlation and for the multiple correlation, we have the same steps or processes so that we can understand the simple correlation if we are able to do the multiple correlation with the help of SPSS. Because for both these tools, the processes or steps will be one and same. Yes. Correlation. What do you mean by correlation? And where we can apply this tool? Where it is considered as an appropriate statistical tool. Correlation is a tool to be used to test the relationship between 2 or more variables. So it's a measure to test the relationship between 2 or more variables. If 2 variables are taken, it is simple correlation. If more than 2 variables are taken, it is said to be multiple correlation. Here, there is no dependent or independent variables. Both the variables, if in the case of simple correlation, we are comparing 2 variables. In the case of multiple correlation, we are comparing several variables. All these variables are considered as interdependent variables. There is no separate dependent or independent variable in this case. That is the peculiarity of this particular statistical tool. What does it mean, in fact? See, 2 variables are there. Like, for example, sales is one of the variables and profit is another variable. We know pretty well there is a relationship between sales and profit. If sales increases, we believe that the profit also increases. So there is a relationship, or there is a connectivity between these two variables. So here, in the case of correlation, we are measuring how far these variables are related. It is an indicator of the relationship, that's all. The difference between correlation and regression, in the case of correlation, as I told you, we have only interdependent variables. In the case of regression, we have a dependent variable and there may be number of independent variables. How these independent variables influence the dependent variable is measured in the case of regression. So, if any of the value of independent variables are known and the value of dependent variable is not known, that value can be predicted or forecasted from the known values of independent variables. That is done in the regression. But here, as I told you, there is no dependent or independent variables. All are considered as dependent. So one-to-one. See, for example, if there are 4 variables, a relationship between variable 1 and 2, variable 1 and 3, variable 1 and 4, variable 2 and 3, variable 2 and 4, variable 3 and 4, like that. Combination of variables. We are comparing 2 variables at a time. So A versus B, A versus C, A versus D. Likewise, B versus C, B versus D, and C versus D. Like that we are comparing. That is said to be correlation. Correlation can be classified as positive correlation and negative correlation. In the case of positive correlation, both the variables move in the same direction. That means if one variable increases, another also increases. If one variable decreases, another also decreases. So both are moving in the same direction. It is said to be positive correlation. In the case of negative correlation, one variable increases, another decreases. Or if one variable decreases, another increases, it is said to be negative correlation. So in the case of negative correlation, the variables move in the opposite direction. If the variables move in the same direction, it is said to be positive correlation. If the variables move in the opposite direction, it is said to be negative correlation. You know, we have some adage or proverb from our elderly people. As is the father, so is the son. Or as is the mother, so is the child. Like that we have heard about the proverbs of our elderly people. No? So, the son is like the father, or the child is like the mother. So, both are alike. See, if the father is tall, son is also tall. If the father is fat, son is also fat. Like that, some relationship is there, is it not? Some coincidence between these two people are there. Father and son, mother and daughter, like that. That is said to be positive correlation. If the father is a daughter I mean, father is a doctor and son is a patient, it is said to be negative correlation. That is also told by our elderly people. So these are examples for positive correlation and negative correlation. How it is measured? This correlation is measured by a coefficient introduced by Karl Pearson. Karl Pearson's coefficient of correlation measures the degree of relationship between variables. So degree means it is represented by percentage. It is represented by percentage. So what could be the maximum percentage? 100%. 100%. In decimals, it is 1. In decimals, it is 1. So the coefficient of correlation must always be between -1 and +1. It may be 0.01, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.6, 0.7, anything like that. But at the maximum of +1. Similarly, on the negative side, -0.1, -0.2, -0.3, -0.4, like that, up to -1. So, the correlation coefficient lies between -1 and +1. If the correlation coefficient is 1, if the correlation coefficient is 1, it means the variables are perfectly correlated. Same, one and same. They are perfectly correlated. If the coefficient of correlation is 0, then they are not correlated. They are not correlated. So, the measurement, the coefficient of correlation lets us know about the degree of relationship between variables. How far they are related, that's all. That is the result of correlation analysis. So how far they are correlated. So for example, we are comparing some 4 or 5 variables. See, in our example I have given to you, the marks scored by students in different subjects, marks in cost accounting, marks in income tax, marks in supply chain, marks in research methodology, like that I have given you. Is there any relationship between the marks scored by the students in these subjects? That is the question given to you. So we are comparing the marks of subject 1 and subject 2, subject 1 and subject 3, subject 1 and subject 4, subject 1 and subject 5. Similarly, 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, 3 and 5, and 4 and 5. That's all. Among these combinations, which combination or which pair is the most correlated pair? That is what we are going to analyze. So, it may be the outcome of students' performance or preparation on these subjects equally or similarly. If there is a positive correlation, we can say that the student, the particular student or the class students have given equal attention to these two subjects. One result may be like that. Or otherwise, from the point of view of the teacher, the students will be saying that, sir, we have prepared both these subjects in a similar manner, sir, like that they will be saying. But when we are asking the teachers, they will say, sir, I have handled these two subjects, sir. So I have taught these two subjects in a similar manner, sir. Like that, they will be telling you. So that is what we can understand from this correlation analysis. Now we'll go to the analytical part. See, this is the problem. I told you, marks obtained by the students, MBA students of Xavier B School in university examinations. Marks in cost accounting, income tax, SEM, RM, and IR. Some 20 students have been taken. You are required to examine whether there is any significant relationship between the marks obtained by the students in various subjects. Okay. Here, some of the guides say that there is no need for writing hypothesis for the correlation analysis, but some others say that it is must. In my opinion, nothing is wrong at all in formulating hypothesis for correlation and the regression analysis. So here we are testing the dependence, is it not? Testing the relationship. So nothing is wrong in writing the hypothesis for this. So I have written the hypothesis. There is no relationship between marks obtained by the students in various subjects. Okay. Now we will go to the analytical part. See, this is the data I have given to you. Go to analyze. As usual, go to analyze. Then we have correlate. There is a menu in the drop-down list. Correlate. A submenu appears having 3 options: bivariate, partial, and distances. Select bivariate because whether it is a simple correlation or multiple correlation, we are comparing 2 variables only at a time. We are comparing 2 variables only at a time. See, there are 3 types of correlation coefficients. The most widely used correlation coefficient is Karl Pearson's coefficient of correlation. Kendall-Stauby is also used rarely. In some cases, they are using. Then Spearman rank correlation coefficient. These two are used when ranks are given. In case of Kendall-Stauby or Spearman, the ranks are used. But when the marks are given, Pearson coefficient of correlation is the appropriate tool. So here marks are given for 5 subjects. I have selected. See here only 1 box is given. As I told you, no dependent or independent variable. All the variables are taken together. Okay. That's all. Click OK. Click OK. Look at the results. I have brought here. See here. This is the multiple correlation result. See, look at the table. See here, this is the result. See, in the column heading also the same subjects. In the row wise also we have the same subjects. I told you, no, 1-to-1 comparison. 1-to-1 comparison. It is always bivariate. Bivariate means 2 variables. See, marks in cost accounting versus marks in cost accounting. Same. How can it differ? It is same. That's why the Pearson's correlation coefficient is 1. If it is 1, what did I say? These variables are perfectly correlated. So always 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, and 5 versus 5 will be 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So the diagonal matrix is always 1. Unit matrix. 1, 1, 1, 1. So the diagonal matrix shows the coefficient of correlation as 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Now, look at the row-wise values and column-wise values. They will be one and same. They will be one and same. See here, cost versus income tax. Coefficient of correlation 0.801. Here, income tax versus cost accounting. Cost accounting versus income tax, as well as income tax versus cost accounting will be the same naturally. Look at this 0.801. Here also 0.801. Similarly, cost accounting versus supply chain 0.440. Look at here, supply chain versus cost accounting 0.440. Similarly, all other variables. So that in order to avoid the confusion, let us delete these values so that you can easily understand, right? So I delete. Right. So it is for your easy understanding. It is for your easy understanding. Now the cost accounting is tested with income tax, supply chain, research methodology, and investment management. Here 3 results are given. One is coefficient of correlation. Second one is p-value. As usual, see, since p-value is available, I told you there is no wrong at all, or there is no mistake at all in writing the hypothesis, because we can get the p-value. Okay. Then the third one is n. N means number of observations. It is 20 because we have taken 20 students. No, so 20. That's all. Now, from these results, we can interpret. We can interpret. How we can interpret means we can interpret with 2 results. That is, one is the correlation coefficient and the other is p-value. So with the p-value, we can say that they are significantly related. Now look at this. See here, what is the p-value? 0.000. That means cost accounting and income tax marks are significantly correlated. There is a significant correlation between marks in cost accounting and marks in income tax. To what extent they are related? That is the R value, that is coefficient. What is the coefficient here? 0.801. That means 80.1%. They are related. Cost accounting marks and income tax marks are related to the extent of 80%. Similarly, next one. We are comparing the cost accounting and the supply chain. Look at this. Supply chain. Cost accounting and supply chain. See here. I'm sorry, I didn't delete this. Now we check cost accounting and supply chain. Cost accounting and supply chain are related look at this, to the extent of 44% only. To the extent of 44% only. And the p-value is also greater than 0.05. It is greater than 0.05. So there is no significant relationship between marks in cost accounting and marks in supply chain management. Then the next comparison is between cost accounting and the research methodology. Look at this. 0.551. So 55%. The p-value is 0.012. It is less than 0.05. So there is a significant correlation between cost accounting and research methodology. Next comparison between cost accounting and the investment management. Look at this. 0.515. So 51.5%. P-value is 0.02. It is less than 0.05. There is a significant correlation. Look at this. There are 2 stars here. And there is no star here. There is 1 star here. Here is also 1 star. No star means they are not correlated. 1 star means they are correlated significantly at 5%. 2 stars means they are significantly correlated at a 1% level. So this is the comparison between cost accounting marks and all the remaining subject marks. Now we compare income tax versus supply chain management. Income tax versus supply chain management. Look at this. The coefficient of correlation is 0.438. P-value 0.053 greater than 0.05. So there is no significant relationship. The p-value is 0.053. R value is 0.438. So 43.8% only. Then we compare income tax and the research methodology. P-value is 0.028. So there is a significant correlation at 5% level. R value, that is coefficient, is 49%. Similarly, for income tax versus investment management, p-value is 0.006. It is significant at 1%. And the R value is 59%, 59.3% relationship. Similarly, supply chain management versus research methodology, 71.2%. P-value is 0.000. Supply chain management versus investment management. Correlation coefficient is 0.756, that is 75%, 75.6%. P-value is 0.000, so it is significant at 1%. And the final pair of comparison is research methodology and investment management, where the coefficient of correlation is 0.641, that is 64.1% of relationship exists between investment management and research methodology. It is significant at 1% because the p-value is 0.002. That is what I have given you here. Right. On the whole, now on the whole, let us check which coefficient of correlation is the highest? Which correlation coefficient is the highest? See here it is 0.801, significant. It is 0.440, not significant. It is 0.551, significant. It is 0.515, significant. So cost accounting versus the remaining subjects, 0.801 is the highest. Here also 0.432, 0.490, 0.593, even then 0.801 is the highest. Here it is 712, 0.712, 0.756, again 801 is the highest. Here it is 0.641. Now also 0.801 is the highest. That means the most correlated subjects are cost accounting and income tax. The students have scored the highest average marks, that is the highest degree of correlation was found between the marks obtained by the students in cost accounting and the marks obtained in income tax. So these two are most correlated. And which is the least correlated? Look at this, 0.432. 0.432 is the least correlated one. That is income tax versus supply chain management. That means those who are good at income tax are not good at supply chain management, or the vice versa. Those who are good at supply chain management are not good at income tax. That is what we can understand. So the correlation is not good among these two subjects. That's what the outcome. And one more analysis here, in which subject the students have scored the highest average marks. For that, again, as we discussed yesterday, go to the cross tabs, then you take this one only, or you can go to the compare means. Can go to the compare means. You take all the variables as dependent variable only. Now you select the mean number of cases and standard deviation. Look at this. These are the mean values: 74, 76.9, 72.35, 76.05, and 78.15. That is what I have given here. Look at this. So mean, standard deviation, and number. So which one is the highest? 78.15 is the highest. So we can say that the students have performed or they have given the best performance in the investment management. The lowest average is in the case of supply chain. So we can say that they have not performed that much well in the case of supply chain management. It may be on account of several reasons. Teachers teaching, students learning, question difficulty level, preparation, and on the day of examination, their performance, their presentation. So that can be understood with a different analysis. Here we can say this much interpretation only. The highest average mark is obtained in investment management, and the lowest is in the case of supply chain management. That's all. This is about the correlation, simple correlation and multiple correlation. Now we will go to the regression analysis. See, here also the same variables are given. One more variable is given, that is the cumulative grade points, CGPA. CGPA given by the university for the students, right? So here, question is, you are required to examine whether there is any significant relationship between marks obtained by the students in various subjects and CGPA. So here, we consider the CGPA as the dependent variable, and these marks are independent variables because CGPA is calculated based on the students' marks in the different subjects. So these marks are considered as independent variables and CGPA is considered as dependent variable. So again, hypothesis. Null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship. Alternative, there is a significant relationship. Now we will go to the analysis. Go to analyze, then go to regression. Go to analyze, go to regression. Here several methods are given. The most widely used is linear method, linear regression method. Look at this. One dependent variable. Which is the dependent variable here? CGPA. Number of independent variables, marks. Okay. We have taken the marks. Now we'll go to the analysis. Okay. Look at this. There are several methods of linear regression. One among them is enter method. Under this method, the variables what we have given as independent variables will be considered by the software whether they are to be entered or not. In this case, all the variables are entered. See here, a footnote is given. All requested variables are entered. Okay. What is the dependent variable? CGPA is the dependent variable. Okay. The second table, model summary. In the model summary, only one model has been arrived. R value is the coefficient of correlation. It is 0.956. So the correlation among these variables is 0.956. What is R square? It is called correlation, coefficient of determination. See, this 0.956 is the coefficient of correlation. And this is coefficient of determination. It is 0.913. It means, see, we have taken 5 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. We cannot assure that the CGPA is calculated only by taking these 5 subjects. These are only few subjects we have considered. There may be some other subjects also. We do not know. We have taken only 5 subjects. So the coefficient of determination says that to what extent these 5 subjects contribute to the CGPA. So here 0.913. It means these 5 subject marks collectively or together impact the CGPA to the extent of 91.3%. That is 0.913. It means 91.3%. That is, the CGPA increases or decreases. The CGPA increases or decreases according to these 5 subjects to the extent of 91.3%. That means if the marks in these subjects increase by 100, the CGPA will be increasing by 91.3%. That's all. So that is what we understand from this model summary. Then ANOVA is also given along with the regression. ANOVA is also performed. Here look at the p-value. It is 0.000. Here we call the CGPA as a dependent variable, and the independent variables are considered as predictors. Here we call these independent variables as predictors. These 5 predictors influence the CGPA, dependent variable, whether they influence significantly or not. That is what we can understand from this p-value. So there is a significant relationship between dependent variable and the predictors at 1% level because p-value is less than 0.01. Then the final result. Look at this. Model 1, constant. Then marks are given. These are the independent variables. Then on the right hand side, look at the unstandardized coefficients and standardized coefficients. Then t value, computed value of t is given, then p value is also given. Normally, while performing the regression analysis, we write the regression equation. Regression equation of y on x means y is dependent variable and x is independent variable. That is why y on x, y dependent on x. So y is dependent on x. So the equation will be y equal to a plus bx. Y equal to a plus bx. A is constant. B is the coefficient of x. A is constant and B is the coefficient of x. This is the case of simple regression, when only one dependent variable and only one independent variable are considered. But now, this is the case of multiple regression where we have used 5 independent variables. So the regression equation will be y equal to a plus b1x1 plus b2x2 plus b3x3 plus b4x4 plus b5x5. b4x4 plus b5x5. That is the regression equation. Now look at the results once again. These are the results. We take the unstandardized coefficients along with standard error. Look at the coefficients. These are the coefficients. First one, constant. That is the value of a. In the equation I told you, no, y equal to a plus. Y equal to a plus. So a is the value arrived here, that is 0.648. Then these are the B1, B2, B3, B4 and B5. B1 0.019, B2 minus 0.004, B3 minus 0.004, B4 plus 0.036, B4 0.041. Now, look at the p-value. These are the p-values. you take the p-values of the independent variables, not of the constant. First one, cost accounting. It is 0.035, significant at 5%. Then second one, income tax, 0.652, not significant, because p-value greater than 5, greater than 0.05. Then supply chain management, p-value 0.699, it is also not significant because p-value is greater than 0.05. Then come to the research methodology, it is 0.004, less than 0.01, so it is significant. Then investment management, 0.003, less than 0.01, it is significant at 1%. So we conclude that the CGPA is significantly influenced by marks obtained in cost accounting, research methodology, and investment management. Marks in income tax and marks in supply chain management have negative relationship with the CGPA, number one. And number two, the relationship is not significant. From the p-value, we can say that it is not significant. Now look at the interpretation. That's what I have given. R value, R square value, 0.913. So 91.3% of CGPA is explained by the 5 subjects. Now look at the model equation. CGPA equal to 0.648. That is a constant. Look at this. 0.648. 0.648. So it is the constant A value. Then B1, 0.019. Here 0.019 M1. M1 means mark 1. Then minus 0.004. Minus 0.004. So minus 0.004 M2. Again minus 0.004 M3. Plus 0.036 M4. Then plus 0.041 M5. So M1 is marks in cost accounting, M2 is income tax, and so on. From these results, what we can understand is the most influencing subject, marks in investment management. Marks in investment management, because the coefficient of correlation is the greatest in the case of marks in investment management. That is what I have done. So the most significant influencing factor or variable is the investment management. Marks obtained by students in investment management have significant relationship with CGPA. That's all. So the least influencing, this can be cross-checked. This can be cross-checked also. Look at this, or even here. Look at the p-value. The lowest p-value is for the highest coefficient. See, it is the highest coefficient, 0.041. Whereas p-value is the lowest for the investment. 0.003, 0.004, 0.699, 0.652, 0.035. So the least influencing factor is this one, supply chain management. From the correlation analysis also, we have got the results, that is, the least correlated subjects are supply chain income tax and supply chain, right? Then the lowest percentage of marks that was also computed earlier. Supply chain management 72.35, highest 78.15. Since we have taken the same example, we have got the same results, that the most significantly influencing subject is the investment management, and the least influencing subject is the supply chain management. This is about regression. In the case of simple regression, we use only one dependent and one independent. That's all. Here we have different or number of independent variables and only one dependent. It is said to be the multiple regression. Then we move on to the next advanced statistical cluster analysis. Excuse me. Thank you. Cluster analysis. It is a typical statistical tool. It is different from all other statistical tools which we have discussed so far. Yesterday 13, today 2. So far we have discussed 15 statistical tools. And this cluster analysis is entirely different from the previous tools. Earlier, in the other tools, we have categorized the respondents based on any independent variable. That independent variable was either a nominal variable, nominal data, or ordinal data, categorical variable, like gender, male and female, marital status, married and single, type of family, the joint family and nuclear family, age group up to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 50, 40 to 60, above 60, like that. So it was a categorical variable earlier. But now, the independent variables are scale data. Earlier, for the parametric test, independent variables are categorical and the dependent variables were scale data. Now it is just opposite. Independent variables are scale data. Dependent variables are ordinal data. Dependent or ordinal. Entirely different. And here we don't know how to group the respondents, how to group the samples. We are not grouping. Earlier, as I told you, these are male, these are female. We compared whether male staff members attended more webinar or female staff members attended more webinars. Yesterday we discussed no. So gender was the criteria, gender was the basis, or gender was the independent variable to divide the samples. But here, independent variable is a scale data. Independent variable is a scale data. If it's a categorical data, it is easy for us to categorize. But now it is categorical. It is not a categorical data. It is a scale data. So how to group the respondents? We do not know. So the tool itself divides the groups, divides the respondents into different groups, divides the samples into different groups. How? We do not know. How many groups? We do not know. If we know that they are to be divided into 3 groups, 2 groups, or 4 groups, like that, then we can go for k-means cluster. We can go for k-means cluster. Yes. This can be used if we know how many clusters are to be made. If we know how many clusters are to be made, then we can go for this k-means cluster. If we do not know how many clusters are to be created or how many groups are to be formed, then we have to go to hierarchical cluster. We have to go to hierarchical cluster. So initially, we do not know. So first step, we have to go to a hierarchical cluster. You have to go to hierarchical cluster. From that analysis, we can understand how many clusters are to be formed. Then we can go to k-means cluster. Now, the problem, look at the problem. Attitude of employees towards job. 3 attitudes are given. One is, I love my job. Second one, I am expert in my job. Third one, I am satisfied with my job. These 3 questions are asked to the sample respondents about their attitude towards the job. Now look at the independent variables. These are dependent variables, of course. See, I love my job. Maybe different from one employee of a particular age to another employee of different age. Similarly, experience. See here, completed years. So open-ended question is given, not choices are given. So abstract age is collected. Actual experience, completed years are collected. So these are the independent variables. These are the independent variables, and these 2 variables are collected as a scale data. Whereas these three are dependent variables. The data are collected for these independent variables as an ordinal data. That is what the difference between the previous tools and this tool. Now we have to test whether there is any significant difference among the employees towards the attitude of regarding the job. Okay, with reference to age and with reference to experience. In this case, we have to apply the typical tool, that is cluster analysis. If we know clearly how many clusters are to be formed, then we can go for k-means cluster, but normally we do not know. So first we have to go to the hierarchical cluster. From then, from that result, we can decide how many clusters are to be made. Now I'll go to the analysis. Analyze, classify, go to hierarchical cluster. Analyze, classify, hierarchical cluster. I have selected. Look at this variables. So here we do not discriminate the dependent and independent variables. We take all the variables together. We take all the variables together, whether dependent variable or independent variable. We take all the variables together. Bring it to the right hand side. Then go to the buttons. Statistics. First one, agglomeration schedule is selected in default. If it is not selected, we have to select. Because Agglomeration schedule is the basis for determining the number of clusters to be formed. So that is to be selected. Then, regarding the plots, we do not do anything here. If suppose dendrogram is selected, you can unselect. Then come to methods. Here, cluster method is given. Between groups linkage. If you select this down arrow, several methods will be appearing. Between groups, within groups, nearest neighbor, farthest neighbor, centroid, median, and Watts method. Select the Watts method. This is the most widely used method. Then interval. Interval, it is given in default squared Euclidean distance method. So that is only to be considered. So don't need to change anything here. Only thing we have to change the cluster method. We have selected Watts cluster method. Interval measure squared Euclidean distance. Okay. Then continue. See here, save button is there. Now we need not save this. Just go to OK. Look at this. Even the plots are not necessary. Look at the result, right? Lester. This agglomeration schedule, ward linkage. We have selected Watts method. No, ward linkage method. Look at the agglomeration schedule. Here, first column is meant for stage number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to, look at the stage number 299. Why 299? You know, we have taken 300 samples. We have taken 300 samples. Look at this. We have taken 300 samples. So number of stage will be number of sample minus 1, n minus 1. Number of stages will always be equal to n minus 1. Number of samples 300. So number of stages will be 299. Okay. Now look at the coefficient. That is the fourth column. You start from the bottom. Start from the bottom. Look at this. For the 299th stage, that is the last stage, the coefficient is 15,850.727. Okay. The previous stage, 298th stage, it is 7,525.852. See the difference between these two stages. 15,000. Here it is 7,000, approximately 8,000. Difference between these two stages are 8,000. Then 298, 7,525. 297, it is 5,684. So the difference is approximately 2,000. Then 297 and 296, difference is approximately 1,000. But when we go to the preceding stages, 4,448 and 3,744, it is in hundreds, right? 700, then 400, 400, 300, 200, like that it is reduced. It is reduced. So the difference is in thousands. or 3 stages, if you go beyond 3 stages, it becomes reduced. So for 299, the difference in thousands. For 299.8, the difference is in thousands. The 297 in thousands. If you go for 296 with the previous one, it becomes in hundreds. The coefficient is in hundreds. So let us decide that 297 up to 297th stage only, we have higher coefficients. After that, it is reduced gradually. Okay. Now, we have to decide how many clusters are to be formed. How many clusters are to be formed? That is why we have done this hierarchical cluster analysis. Here, the number of clusters to be formed is equal to number of samples, that is 300, minus number of stage up to which we have greater coefficients. Where we have greater coefficients, it is up to 297th stage. So 300 minus 297. What is the answer? 3. 300 minus 297, it is 3. It means we have to form 3 clusters. We have to form 3 clusters. So this is what about the hierarchical cluster analysis. Then we will go to K-means cluster. Now we have got an idea how many clusters are to be made. So go to K-means cluster. Here is the box meant for variables. As usual, select all the variables, irrespective of whether they are dependent or independent. All are selected. Then, here, number of clusters. How many clusters are to be formed? We have decided from the hierarchical cluster analysis that 3 clusters are to be formed. Okay. Now, go to iterate. Maximum 10 iterations given. That's okay. Now you can save. 2 options are given. Cluster membership. Continue. Then regarding the options, either you can select ANOVA table or not. That doesn't matter. If you select ANOVA table, we can get the ANOVA results also. Or otherwise, we have to perform ANOVAs separately. Let me explain you how. Okay, continue. Now look at the data once again. See, I have given age, experience, love, expert, satisfaction. These are the 5 variables we have taken. Then confident, this is a variable for the next analysis. And F1 to F16, that is F18, that is for the factor analysis. See, now one variable has been introduced or inserted by the software itself. We have saved the, or otherwise, see, let me clear this. Now that variable is not available. Let me go to the analysis again. Cancel, analyze, classify, K-means cluster. Variables we have chosen. right? 3. And cluster membership. We have saved cluster membership. See, at once I clicked continue. You can look at the data, or I click OK. See, one more variable is added. Automatically, one more variable is added. This is the membership. This is the membership. Now you come to the output. See, these are the results. Look at this. There are 3 clusters. This is the initial cluster center. Initially, this is the cluster center. Then final cluster center is given here. In the initial cluster center, some results are given. We need not bother about this because final is only required. Look at the iteration history. This is also not required for us because it is made for forming the clusters. We need to bother about these 2 only. Final cluster centers. See, three clusters have been formed, or group. In a common name, we can say group. Group 1, group 2, group 3. See here, we do not know how the samples have been clustered. Based on age, cluster is formed. 3 clusters are formed. Based on work experience, clusters are formed. Based on attitude towards job, I love my job, I'm an expert in my job, I'm satisfied with my job. From these variables are also, we have clustered the samples. Now look at the first 2. 3, 4, 5 and 3, 4 and 5 need not be considered because these 3 are ordinal data. These 3 are ordinal data. Only these 2 are important. Age and work experience. Why? Because these are scale data. Look at the cluster 1. It is 25. Cluster 2, 33. Cluster 3, 42. It means the sample respondents are divided into 3 clusters. The average age of the employees in the first cluster is 25. The average of the employees in the second cluster is 33. And third cluster is 42. Similarly, experience. First cluster, average 6 years. Second cluster, average experience 5 years. Third cluster, average experience 4 years. These 3 are immaterial. Now look at the number of cases in each cluster. In the first cluster, 160 employees are there. In the second cluster, 110 employees. And in the third cluster, 30 employees are there. Totally 300 employees are there. That's all. So from this cluster analysis, we have divided the employees into 3 categories, 3 clusters. Cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. Now, we can go for ANOVA. Go to Analyze. As usual, compare means, then one-way ANOVA. Now look at the age and work experience. Why we are taking this? These 2 are the scale data. Even for the remaining 3, we can take, but it is not meaningful. So what is the factor that last one, cluster number, newly inserted variable, that is the grouping factor. Now, if we are interested, we can go for post hoc analysis. If there is a significant relationship, then we can go for post hoc analysis, or otherwise it is over. Now go to OK. Look at this. Age-wise and experience-wise. Age-wise and experience-wise. P-value 0.00, 0.000. So what can we understand from this is there is a significant relationship among the employees in three clusters. Among the employees in three clusters based on age, based on work experience. The same can also be done for the other variables are also, for other variables also. I love my job, I am expert in my job. Earlier I have not included because they are ordinal variables. But here you can see 0.025, significant at 5%. 0.027, significant at 5%. Whereas the third one, it is not significant, 0.078. That's all. So from the cluster analysis, the samples are grouped or clustered not based on the independent variables in the ordinal data. Here independent variables are in the scale data. In that case, we can apply the cluster analysis. And first we have to go for k-means, hierarchical cluster. Then we can go for k-means cluster. So number of clusters are decided from the results of hierarchical cluster. From that, we go for the k-means cluster, and number of clusters is already obtained. Based on that, the clusters are formed, and we have checked the relationship among the sample respondents. Right? This is what cluster analysis, hierarchical cluster analysis, and k-means cluster analysis. Okay. Then the next one, discriminant analysis. Here also we have the same variables. One more variable is added. That is, are you confident of completing the task assigned to you within the given time? So here one variable is purposively deleted. That is, I love my job is deleted. I am expert in my job. I am satisfied with my job. Even it can be included. Just for example, I have excluded. That's all. See here, confidence is considered as the dependent variable. The others are considered as independent variables. Even age, experience, I'm an expert in my job, I'm satisfied with the job. These four are independent variables. Look at this. Among these independent variables, two are given in scale data, two are given in ordinal data. The dependent variable is having two choices, ordinal or categorical, or even dichotomous, because only two choices are there, confident or not confident. That's all. This is also similar to the cluster, because not based on any data obtained from the sample respondents as ordinal data or categorical data. Here we are using both the scale data as well as the categorical data to determine the level of influence on the confidence level. So here, discrimination. What is the discrimination? Whether they are confident or not confident. So they are divided into groups. Which group has more confident or which group has lesser confident? in order to decide that we are performing the discriminant analysis. Okay. Again, go to analysis, analyze, the same, classify, come to discriminant analysis. It is also called as DFA, discriminant function analysis. So the result will be given in function 1, function 2, function 3, like that. Or sometimes only one function will be given. Based on that, we have to write the interpretation. So discriminant function analysis or multiple discriminant analysis. Okay. Now here, what are the independent variables? Age, work experience, then expert in job, I'm satisfied. What is the grouping variable? Confident. Defined range. How many groups we have formed? 2 groups. So minimum 1, maximum 2. Confident, not confident. That's all. Suppose if you are taking the satisfaction as the grouping variable, low, medium, high. In that case, minimum 1, maximum 3. So 3 groups are there to determine the discriminating factor. Now continue. Here, statistics. If you are interested, you can select mean. Otherwise, we need not. Classify. All groups are equal. Okay. Then here select summary table. In the display part, you select summary table. Then continue. Then okay. Look at this. These are the outputs. First one, case processing summary, leave it. Group statistics. See, look at here. Not confident. We have divided the sample respondents into 2 groups. 300 employees are there. Out of them, 42 are not confident. 258 are confident. 42 employees are not confident that they can complete the task within the specified time. And 258 employees are confident that they will be completing the task assigned to them within the specified time. Yes. Now look at the mean age. Those who are not confident has the age of 39.57 years on average basis. On an average, or the mean age of the not confident employees is 39.57. Whereas look at the average age of confident employees. There are 258 employees. Their average age is 27.78. Now you compare the 2 groups, confident group and not confident group. I told you no, which group has more confident, which group has lesser confident or not confident. Look at the age, mean age, 27.78. Here it is 39.57. It means the younger employees are confident of completing the tasks assigned to them within the specified time. Younger employees. Younger employees does not mean that they have no experience. Experience is another variable. Now we are comparing the age only. So junior employees or younger employees are more confident and aged employees are less confident. Now look at the experience. Average years of experience for the not confident employees is 3.83. For the confident employees, it is 5.93. Now look at this. It is just the opposite to the previous result because less experienced staff members have no confidence. Higher experienced or more experienced staff members have more confidence, right? So age-wise, youngers have more confidence. Aged employees have lesser confidence. Experience-wise, younger employees or junior employees have no confidence. Senior employees have more confidence. That is what we can understand from this. Okay. Now, let us see the summary of canonical discriminant functions. I told you functions. So canonical discriminant functions. Look at this. 0.669. That is the correlation coefficient. So the relationship between these two groups is to the extent of 66.9%. It is significant based on the p-value and Wilks lambda. It is 0.552. The p-value is 0.000. So it is less than 0.01. We can say that the relationship between the employees is significant. Now look at the final three. Look at the standardized canonical discriminant functions and the last one, the structure matrix. Look at this, right? Here in the standardized coefficients, it is the standardized coefficients. Only one function is there. So age 0.956, experience minus 0.202, expertise 0.201, satisfaction 0.182. That means the confidence level is influenced by age to the extent of 95%. Then work experience negatively affects the confidence by 0.202. Expertise positive impact 0.201. Satisfaction positive impact 0.182. Now within groups there is a pooled comparison. Within age, the function says that the coefficient is 0.963. Within work experience, it is minus 0.263. Within expertise, it is 0.153. Again, it is negative. When we compare the intergroup correlations, it is 0.024. Now come to the centroids. Centroids, we need not bother about it. It is 2.224 for the non-confident, and for confident it is minus 0.362. Look at the classification summary, right? These two. Confident, 42. We have classified 42 as not confident. And confident we have classified as 258. But after the analysis, the prediction says that only 41 can be considered as not confident. Out of these 42, 41 are not confident and one is supposed to be confident. From the analysis, we understand that one is confident. Among the not confident confident cases, 258 employees were there. Out of them, 26 are in fact not confident. It is predicted from the group membership. And 232 are only confident. Out of 258, to 32 alone are confident. So what can we understand? 91% are correctly classified. 91% are correctly classified. Earlier, we have used, in the case of cluster analysis, we have used 5 variables, and here we have used only 4 variables. Instead of 5 variables, we have used 4 variables only. So for the sake of understanding only, I have given you just 4 variables. Even with the 5 variables, we can perform the analysis. The result will be different. So this is what about the discriminant analysis. So here what we can say, which category of employees have more confidence and which category of employees are not confident. For that, the discrimination is made based on the age, work experience, expertise, and satisfaction. That's all. That is what discriminant function. And finally, we are going to discuss about the factor analysis. Factor analysis. In the case of multiple regression, we had one dependent variable only and more independent variables. In the case of correlation, we considered that they are interdependent variables. Now we come to the factor analysis. We have several factors. 18 statements are given. We have collected data from the 500 employees of healthcare department, whether they are satisfied with several items given. Number 1, my colleague always give moral support. My colleagues always share information. My colleagues can cooperate well with me. My current job gives me an opportunity to use my skills and abilities. My current job meets my career objectives. My current salary meets my qualification. Like that, 18 statements are given. And the employees were asked to rate these statements as their level of agreement. Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. See here, all the statements are taken together. We do not know whether these statements can be grouped or not. We do not know. If we do not know, we have to go for EFA, that is exploratory factor analysis. If we know, or if we predetermine the group, we can go for confirmatory factor analysis, CFA. For that, we need AMOS, not with SPSS. With SPSS, we can do EFA only, exploratory factor analysis. See here, 18 factors are given, right? See, now how to apply. These are the notes given to you. Principal component analysis with Varimax rotation method and Kaiser's normalization is conducted. Then KMO measure is measured or ascertained. If it is greater than 0.07, it is adequate. If it is less than 0.05, it is inadequate. So it is better, it is greater than 0.07. So between 0.07 and 0.05, it is somehow okay. But Morgan and Barrett says that it is inadequate if the KMO value is less than 0.5. Then Bartlett's test is conducted to test the significance. If it is less than 0.05, it is significant. Then result based on eigenvalues greater than 0.1, those factors are considered. We are using rotated factor matrix. We are using a Varimax rotation method, and based on the rotated factor matrix, we come to the conclusion. Okay. Now go to the analysis. See, I have mentioned F1 to F18. Go to analyze. Go to dimension reduction. Then select factor analysis. Now select all the factors. My colleague always from that the environment. I have selected all the 18 variables now. Then 5 buttons are given on the right hand side. Select the descriptives button. In the statistics, initial solution is selected. In the correlation matrix, you select KMO and Bartlett's test for sphericity. Okay. Continue. Then extraction, we use principal component analysis method. It is selected in default, so don't do anything. Continue. Then rotation, we are using Varimax method. None is selected in default, so change it to Varimax method. Then okay. Then regarding the scores, we do not do anything, right? We need not do anything here. Go to options. Here you select the first one, coefficient display format. Select sorted by size. Continue. Now click OK. So these are the results. First one. Look at this. KMO measure 0.719. What I told you, KMO measure should be greater than 0.7. Here it is 0.719. So it is greater. So we draw the conclusion that the sample is adequate for further analysis. Then look at the significant value. Bartlett's test. It is 0.000. It is less than 0.05, so it is significant. Then it is initialized to 1 for the given factors. This is the factor loadings extracted. But we need not explain anything here. Come to the total variances explained. See, these are the 18 factors. Eigenvalues. I told you no, eigenvalues greater than 0.1. Eigenvalues greater than 0.1. So here, look at this, eigenvalues greater than 0.1. So only up to the 6th factor, it is greater than 0.0. I mean, it is greater than 1. For the remaining factors, it is less than 1. Now it is extracted. Then it is rotated using the Varimax rotation method. Look at this. So eigenvalues, these are the initial eigenvalues. Now extracted squared loadings. Look at the value and total percentage of variance explained. They are same. 4.218, 4.218. 23.431%, 23.431%. Same. But look at this last one. It is different. Rotated sums of squared loadings. So here it is rotated. Total statements we have considered, or factors considered, 18 factors. Here it says that only 6 factors have the eigenvalues greater than 1. But why rotation is made is, what about the remaining factors? We cannot leave the remaining factors, no. Remaining 12 factors are there, no. So that should also be included. That is why rotated. See how many iterations are there? See, 6 component, look at this. Number of iterations. Okay, it's not given. So see here, 8 iterations. 8 times rotation converged. So this is grouped with this, that is grouped with this, like that. 8 times it is here. The iterations are done. After that, now this 3.181 is the squared loadings of not the first factor, but the first component. What do you mean by component? Component is a group of factors. So here some factors are grouped in first component. So total percentage of variance explained by this component is 17.67%. So the satisfaction of employees is determined based on these factors to the extent of 17.67%. So these factors are the highest influencing factors. Second component 12.313. Third component 10.476. Fourth component 9.895. Fifth component and sixth component. Now this is component matrix. So in each component, what are the factors to be included? But this is initial. We come to the rotated component matrix. We have selected that while saving the scores, I told you to display sort by size. Being a beginner, it will be easy for you to understand. Look at the first column, that is first component. See, these are the rotated factor loadings. 0.85, 0.821, 0.786, 0.652, 0.517, like that. Why sort by size we have used? Look at this, 0.850, minus 0.025, minus 0.055, 0.166, minus 0.148, minus 0.06. So, which is the greatest? 0.85 is the greatest. For this one also, 0.821 is the greatest. This one, 786. This one, 658. This one, 517. Now look at the factors. It is not in the previous order. What was the first factor we have considered? My colleagues always give moral support. But after rotation, I told you, my current job meets my career objective. That is the first factor. Then my current job gives me an opportunity to use my skills and attitudes or abilities. So that is the second factor. Third factor, fourth factor, fifth factor. Up to fifth factor, the squared loadings is highest in the component 1. Look at this. Then the next factor, the component 1 value is minus 0.046, but it is greatest in the second component. So it is to be categorized in the second component. Next one also, next one, third component has the highest value. Look at this. Next one also. Then for the next factor, fourth component has the highest value. Similarly, next one, fifth component, these two. Then last two factors, sixth component, that has the highest value. For your easy understanding, see, after having identified this, you delete all the remaining coefficients. Remaining coefficients may be deleted. So I have deleted and showed you in different colors. So these are the factors loaded in the first component. These are the factors loaded in the second component, third component, fourth component, fifth component, and sixth component. That's all. From this, what we can understand, these factors. See, earlier we have not classified the factors into different groups. Now, 6 components have been formed. 6 groups of factors are formed. So, first group of factors have the highest percentage of variance explained. Highest percentage of variance is explained by the first group of factors. So 17.67%. So we can say that these factors influence the satisfaction of employees at the highest level. Second most, third most, fourth most, fifth most, and the least. That's all. Then one more thing we have to do this. According to these, according to the homogeneity of these factors, we can give any name for the factors. See, current job, like that. So, current job oriented factors. These factors may be named as current job oriented factors. Then, next, look at this. Supervisor, supervisors or working environment. So, supervisor or working environment related factors. Then, salary, increment, bonus. So, compensation related factors. Then, moral support, promotion, opportunities. So, career oriented objectives, career oriented factors. Then, colleagues, last two, the next two are related to colleagues. So, colleague related factors. Then finally, the supervisor gives support, hospital provides basic allowance, loading, so recognition oriented factors. Like that, we can give any name based on the uniformity or homogeneity of these factors. That's all. So that's all about the exploratory factor analysis. So I conclude. We have discussed about 5 tools, 5 different and important tools. Number 1, multiple correlation. Number 2, multiple regression. Number 3, cluster analysis. Number 4, discriminant analysis. And finally, we have discussed about the factor analysis. These 5 analyses are advanced tools. See, for PhD thesis or for publication of papers in impact journals, refereed journals or Scopus indexed journals, these tools are very must. So, depending upon the nature of your problem, nature of your data, you can decide which tool may be appropriate. So that we can select the tool and you can apply any of these tools for your thesis or your papers. Okay. So I would like to thank the management, principal, coordinator, convener, and the organizing team for having given me wonderful opportunity to share my views in this August gathering for the past 2 days. My sincere thanks to all the participants for your kind cooperation and patient listening. I hope that I would have conveyed a little knowledge, at least a little knowledge about the statistical tools. So far, we have discussed about 18 statistical tools that are all most commonly used, both fundamental or basic and the advanced statistical tools we have discussed. So I wish you all the very best in your endeavors. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all. Now it's time for you to ask any queries. You can unmute your mic and ask, or otherwise you can put your question in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable time and efforts on imparting us on the knowledge on research methodology and the statistical tools. These 2 days workshop were very useful to all of us.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. I request the participants, both online and offline, to give your feedback about the 2 days session.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Sir, this is Paul Raj from Department of Commerce, Visarpur College.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I had one doubt yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is how it is possible to do data analysis having resource person on online mode in online mode.
Sir, again sir, could you please put in the chat box, sir?
Oh, okay, sir.
Sir, dear sir, please put in the chat box, sir, because echo is there.
Oh, sir.
Sir,
Or you can switch off the mic. You can talk to me through your device. Yes, sir.
Sir, now is audible. Now it is audible, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, sir.
It is possible to do this data analysis having resource person in online mode, but you did very well, sir. Whatever you said, I studied those tools, meaning itself in my higher studies. But these 2 days, you taught us very well for more tools with more explanations through data analysis. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, madam. Good evening, sir.
So this is Hemalata from Department of Commerce.
Good evening.
Sir, I'm doing the research scholar, sir, as a research scholar.
Yes.
So today's session was very nice.
Thank you.
The first day session is very common. We already studied that one. The second day today session is the topics like analysis or excellence, sir. So it is an eye-opener for us. As a research scholar, it will be very useful for me. On behalf of my team and behalf of my management, I thank you very much, sir. Thank you for this time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I invite Dr. G. Nyanraj Christopher, HOD Department of Commerce and Barsal of a college, to give the word of thanks.
Good evening.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Good
you
evening, sir.
for
Sir, good evening, sir.
very valuable time to be with us for the past 2 days, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Like the first sir said, many people must have wondered how a workshop on data analysis could be conducted online. But
Yes,
you have made it possible, and I think everyone who attended, I attended yesterday in my home, sir. It was really very easy to follow whatever you said. And thank you very much for sparing your very valuable time.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
A great blessing to the commerce fraternity, especially to all researchers, especially to the fraternity of commerce. We are glad that a commerce professor is able to do great research and is able to share his knowledge on research methodology and data analysis with his colleagues and other budding researchers. On behalf of our department and on behalf of Bishop Iba College, I would like to thank you very, very much for your very patience and for your very simple and lucid explanation of all the tools that are required for data analysis. Anyone who had listened to you for the 2 days must be able to complete his PhD without any much trouble. I'd like to thank you, sir, for the great effort that you have taken and for your very valuable time. On behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I should also thank Dr. Panella who initiated this workshop. On behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank Dr. Panella also. Thank you, ma'am. And special thanks to Dr. Shiba, who was running here and there to get it organized. Thank you, Shiba, madam. And of course, like sir said, any workshop is successful only when participants join and interact. So there are a lot of participants here. And sir, we'd like to continue this cooperation, sir. We'd like you to come again and again to our college, either online or possible offline, and talk to our students and to our faculty, sir. Once again, on behalf of all of you, thank you.
Last year, sir, last year, before COVID-19, I visited your college, no, on 29th January 2020.
Yes, sir.
Before
I remember,
COVID. So after COVID, again I'm visiting.
We'd like to have you here very often, sir.
Sure,
Feel
sir,
free
sure.
to come to our department anytime, sir. Thank you very much.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Shall I quit, sir? Thank you.